Hello, my name is Dr. Rene. I'm a board-certified naturopathic doctor. I've been in practice for about 30 years. And we get a lot of questions from people on blogs and through our emails. So I thought I'd take some opportunity to answer some questions. And perhaps we'll spend more time in the future with whatever questions you may have to submit.
Our first question comes from one of your clients. Why is it so hard to lose weight, but it's so easy to put it back on and to add a little more?
In order to understand that, we have to understand the metabolism of the body and the memory of the body. Most people think it's a simple matter of eating less calories and doing a little more exercise. And certainly that's part of the equation. But there are other factors. One of them is the size of the fat cells themselves. If we've been overweight or obese in our early childhood and through our teens, then it's much harder. These are developmental years. And in those years, the fat cells of the body actually are formed. If we're obese in early years, then we have larger fat cells to begin with. And based on the principle that nature abhors a vacuum, if the fat cell is larger, then it's going to continually want to be filled. As we grow and develop, if we are not obese in childhood, then it's not a matter of having larger fat cells, it's a matter of having more fat cells. And that becomes a different matter as far as losing or gaining weight. So if the fat cells themselves are larger, that means that even though we're losing weight, we're constantly in a state of great hunger. We feel much more hungry than if we simply had more fat cells and lost them, because those fat cells are calling to be filled, they're calling out. So it's harder to resist that drive, that hunger, that internal hunger. That's one factor. The other factor to consider is something called set point. And a lot of people don't understand what the battle of the bulge really is about. So we go to all these weight loss programs, weight loss clinics, and it's not a difficult matter to lose weight. Well, for some people it may be. I don't want to be judgmental. It's more difficult for some than for others because there are other factors to take into consideration, emotional eating and so on. But just the idea of set point itself, so we lose the weight, and that's not an issue. But then we gain it back, or we gain back more than we've lost. There's two very solid reasons for that, and that's where the real battle of the bulge takes place. It's not in the weight loss, it's the maintenance and the continuing to lose weight if we need to. So a person starts on a weight loss program, and let's say that we have a 5-foot woman who, with medium-sized bones, we'll use that as an example, and based on bone structure and metabolism, let's say she's in her 30s, so there's a metabolic factor to take into consideration. So let's assume that her ideal weight might be 105 pounds or 110 pounds, which is high, based on current standards, but I'm going to add a few pounds so that we don't make it ridiculously difficult. And let's say that her weight is 150 pounds. So that would be, depending on fat to muscle ratio, because if she's a weightlifter at 150 pounds and it's mostly muscle, then there may not be a question of obesity. That's the other consideration, by the way. There's a difference between obesity and being overweight by some artificial standard. Obesity really has to do with the fat to muscle ratio. Being overweight in terms of a standard that's given by some organization somewhere like the FDA or the ADA or so forth, doesn't necessarily mean that one is unhealthy. But let's assume obesity, 150 pounds. So, and she has held that weight for a number of years. That means that the body has now set itself at that weight. In other words, the body memory is such that it says, this is my weight, this is where I'm supposed to be. Now a person starts to lose weight. And at first, the weight is lost. So a person may lose 20 or 30 pounds, feel great about it, but now all of a sudden, they're following the same program and they stop losing weight. Why does that happen? It happens because of that set point. The body at first loses weight, and then something happens in the body's memory that says, wait a minute, stop. I must be dying because there's something wrong with me. I'm supposed to be at 150. Now I'm at 120 or 130, and there's something wrong. So the body is going to slow its metabolism in order not to lose more weight. That's based on the body's principle of survival. It wants to survive. It does not understand the principle of weight loss. It has its own level of memory. That being said, now the person, not understanding this principle or not knowing it, will think there's something wrong, the diet is not working anymore, let me try a different kind of diet. That's actually not the answer. The answer is to stick in there, do some things to raise the metabolism again, such as increase exercise, perhaps drop calories a little bit more, something to kick-start the weight loss again. So now let's just take the next part of the question. The next part of the question is, I've lost the weight I wanted to lose. The person has lost 45 pounds, and now this 5-foot woman is 105 pounds, and she feels good. Well, let's hope she feels good. Because to lose the weight without exercise, I'm going to emphasize the importance of exercise. To lose the weight without exercise would mean that perhaps more muscle has been lost than fat, and though the person is now has less weight, their muscle to fat ratio might be worse than when they started, and they might be unhealthier. So we definitely, and the skin would be sagging, the body doesn't look good, you have cosmetic issues. Once the skin sags, it's very hard to bring it back into tone. Definitely weight loss without exercise is a big mistake. So now let's say the person has done that, they're 105 pounds. Now something happens. They follow a relatively good diet from here on in based on the suggestions of a good nutritionist or a naturopath like myself, or a medical doctor who understands diet and nutrition. They're following the plan, but the weight starts creeping back up. They're no longer on a weight loss program. They're now on somewhat of a maintenance program, and the weight starts creeping up. And then they get their weight back, or they get back more than they've had to begin with. A couple of factors are at play here. Number one, the metabolism has slowed to begin with, as I said, because of that principle of survival. And number two, there's a set point. That set point is the body's memory of where it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be at 150 pounds, the body says. And the mind, and that's sending messages through the nervous system and through the hormonal system, through every other part of the body. So the body is going to try to get back to where it thinks it is normally, at 150 pounds. So, what is the issue? And it's going to get back there unless some steps are taken. The issue is that a person has to understand this entire sequence of events. We have to understand the battleground if we're going to win a particular battle. It's called the battle of the bulge for a reason. It is a battle. And that's where the real battle begins. Once a person has reached their ideal weight, that's where the battle begins. Because now they have to maintain that ideal weight for at least 2 years before the body resets itself and has a new set point. Once it creates a new set point, then it will hold at that point. Even if we're overeating at some point, it will go back to the new set point. Then it's going to be hard to gain weight or lose weight. The body will now consider this is my normal weight. And so if one time we go out and eat a piece of cheesecake or chocolate fudge cake or have an ice cream sundae, you know, we may need to do a little bit of extra walking if we want to burn a few extra calories, but the body is naturally going to shift toward that new set point. So these are critical principles to understand in the real battleground of losing weight, maintaining that weight, and creating a new set point for the body.